No. We're just gonna look at each other, sure. Obviously, thought it was a great night. You know, I thought that that's a great step forward in terms of getting Cowboy basketball back to being, in Gallagher-Iba, back to being the rowdiest arena in the country. I thought that the students were good. I thought the overall fans were good, and I thought that our guys gave them, at times, albeit it was not pretty, I thought that our guys gave them things to make them want to come back and watch them play again. So I thought it was a tremendous step forward, and look forward to building upon that.
Any nerves stepping out into the crowd for your first time?
Nope, no. I don't usually get nervous like before games. I get nervous in practice. I get nervous in practice when we turn the ball over 15 times in a 20-minute scrimmage and those sorts of things. I look at practice as my time, and when we get into games, I think that's the players' time. So I don't really get nervous.
Doug initially thanked you for playing him here, and said, you know, he didn't know what we had, and yeah, he could have turned us down. Did you look at that as a crazy move to bring in a former player in his first game in your first game as head coach here?
Well, it's never a crazy move to take care of our own, right? That's again, I've said this last week or the week before. The program is bigger than a win or a loss, and Doug is one of our own. You can have your own opinion of Doug; it does not matter. He's one of our own, and we had an opportunity to help a fellow Cowboy. Therefore, that was my deciding factor.
Grade the defense, because
bad. I know you bad. Bad. You cannot give up 58% and think you're going to win games no matter what, guys. We gave up 58% in the first half. We gave up 41% in the second half, and still 37% from the three. You're not going to win games that way. I know we won tonight, and I know that we were great in rebounding. We were great at shooting free throws. We took care of the ball for the most part, but you're not going to be able to play that kind of defense and win in the Big 12. You're just not. You're kidding yourself if you think if that's going to happen.
Players said they sensed it. Did you sense how much this crowd appreciates good defense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the times that the crowd gets loud is when they dive on the floor and we come up with a loose ball or they get a stop. You know, the problem is we didn't get enough stops. I mean, we went the whole entire first half without getting 3 stops in a row. You can't win that way. And in the second half, I think we only had 3. So did we string some defensive efforts together that were good? Yeah. Did we do some good things? Yes, but we did not consistently play defense the way that we have to if we're going to be successful.
Was Green Bay better than you expected?
I didn't have an expectation. I didn't have film from them. I knew a couple of the players. I had some stats. I knew that they shot a bunch of threes. I knew that they would spread the floor. So it's a hard guard for us, if you know what I mean. I mean, you're asking Abu Usman to guard a perimeter, probably a 4-man, maybe even a 4-3 who plays the 5. So now you've gotten him guarding at 23, 24 feet. He's not used to that, neither is Robert. Well, Pat and Robert aren't great at it either. So it's a tricky situation. Obviously in the second half we made a couple adjustments and we were better. But I wanted to see how we were going to do. You know, I mean, this first game it was about winning, because they're all about winning, but this game's also more about us and getting better. And with each game we'll learn more and more about each one of our players and what they can do.
Other than just getting fully healthy, how have you seen Bryce develop from April till now? It seems like he's more confident now.
Yeah, you know, I would say this, guys. He didn't really do anything from April till September. He stood around on the sideline a lot and watched, but you could always tell that he had good poise about him. You always knew that he was a basketball guy. Like he lives and breathes basketball, and he had good leadership to him. Where I think that Bryce has made a tremendous jump in the last 4 to 6 weeks is that he's allowed the game to come to him a little bit more. He's figured out that we do have some guys that can create opportunities for him, and he doesn't have to maybe press as much. And I commend him for that. I tell him all the time, I want him to be hungry to score, but I don't ever want him to be selfish. And I say that to everybody though, so, but that's conversations that Bryce and I have had. So I'm happy for him. He puts an enormous amount of time in the gym and works at it. So he deserves to be rewarded with the shots going in the games.
Called that timeout early in the game. What did you tell Boo?
What do you think I told him?
Well, he said just play better defense.
Yeah, I mean, guys, as I said, our first half defense was not very good. I mean, we came out the first play of the game, we didn't execute a set that we've run 10 times in practice. And it was wide open. We set a great cross screen, Abu was gonna get a layup or a dunk, and we screw it up. So whatever the reason, whether it was because they were excited for their first game where there was a pretty good crowd, or what, we didn't come out focused on the things that were going to be the most important in terms of winning. That was defense and execution.
From an offensive standpoint, it looked like they took some threes. I mean, they were probably still thinking the SMU game, they were gonna go in at that rate. Did you like the way they backed off and adjusted and took different shots?
Well, we only took 2 less in the second half from the 3-point line, so no. I felt like that probably for the game we should have shot 12 to 14 threes, and I was very transparent with letting our team know that. I think that we settled more in the first half for threes than we did in the second half. So with that part, I would tell you that I was pleased. But in the first half, I thought we took some quick, easy ones when we knew the focus was to get the ball to the basket, get to the free throw line, and get the ball inside to our post guys. So again, we were not focused on what we felt like the coaching staff felt like were the keys to winning the game.
You talked about the offensive glass before the season. Safe to say you're happy with that effort tonight?
Yeah, I mean, what did we get, 19 offensive rebounds, I believe? The problem is in 16 in the second half, if I remember right, because we didn't rebound the ball well in the first half on the offensive side. The problem is we only converted 19 offensive rebounds for 20 points. And that's got to easily be 30 to 35 points, right? I mean, you got your offensive rebound at the rim, you should score it. And if not, like those ones where we'll get long rebounds and we'll maybe hold on to the ball rather than trying to attack and score while the defense is still scrambling around out of the rebound. I thought we did a poor job with that. I thought that we held on to the ball quite a bit too much this evening, whereas at the SMU game, I thought the ball moved a lot better.
Is some of that holding onto the ball somewhat natural at first game, something you might expect to happen more early in the season?
Yeah, I guess. I'm hoping, but then we didn't do that against SMU, right? And we've moved the ball pretty well in practice. We have a sign that as you walk out onto Gallagher Ibis floor, it says, basically you have a chance to become a star or become a champion. And I always equate that to, do I want to be about me or I want to be about the team? And we need to be about the team more. I'm not telling you we were selfish all the time, but still, we've got to share the basketball more, and we've got to be all about the team 100% of the time.
Tempo is obviously a big part of your systems. Is there a possession number that you're aiming for each game? Obviously, each game's a little bit different, but you had 73 tonight.
It just depends. I mean, obviously, they ran a 1-2-2 and tried to slow us down, and they did, to an extent at some point. I think we still finished with 89 points, which is pretty good when, he's running a junk defense zone, trying to slow us down, those sorts of things. I thought our guys were aggressive, but even against the zone press, man, we want to get the ball reversed one time, and then we want to come on an angle, and we want to be pushing the basketball. We don't want to just settle for reversing it 2 or 3 times and being okay with getting it across. We want to get it across with tempo and pace and aggressiveness. So we've got to get better in that regard. But again, Green Bay did things tonight that we don't probably work on that often in practice. And this being the first game, it exposed us a little bit. So we've got a lot to work on.
You went with, I think, the same starting 5 that you had in the SMU scrimmage. What do you like about that group? And is that kind of a firm starting 5 do you see right now?
Yeah, you guys are going to ask me that question. You're going to get a lot of different answers. I went with the guys that I felt like played the best in practice. And I felt with those guys here over the last week, since the SMU game, have given us the best opportunity to win. I don't think that we'll always have the same starting 5, and I'm okay with that. Like, who cares if you're the starter? Make sure you're in at the end of the game. That's what matters.
You mentioned the free throws earlier. Kind of what goes into a team being a good free throw shooting team?
Well, number one is practice, right? And you have to have good practice habits with it. I think we've shored up some things on a couple other guys in terms of their mechanics, but shooting them while you're tired, shooting them in game situations, and putting players into pressure situations to make those free throws. Like we'll shoot a lot. We'll in between games. In practice, I mean, we'll shoot one free throw. You either win or you lose. We call them game winners. And so, I mean, the more we shoot them, the better we'll become in my mind. Because, practice and repetition, that's going to breed confidence.
Khalil said this was his talked about how it was his first Power 5 game. How did you feel he kind of did just running some of the offense for you guys?
I thought Khalil did fine. He'll continue to get better in our system and the way we play. At times, I thought he was a little bit too passive. But I thought he was better in the second half. I don't know. He either had 3 or 4 assists to 1 turnover, which is good. He's got to continue to become a better leader, as does Arturo. But with that being said, those guys can't be the only leaders. I mean, this team is going to have the leadership's going to have to be collective. We're not going to be able to have one person and rely on one person each and every night.
Would you prefer to be that way, having more leaders rather than just like you're the guy? Would you prefer having a by committee?
Yeah, I mean, any good team's leadership comes from within. Like, I don't want to be the one that has to direct them and tell them what to do each and every possession and moment and when things get bad. Like, if, I called a couple timeouts tonight just to prove a point because it's so early in the season, but I also let them sit in it a little while when we weren't playing well, if you paid attention. Right, I want them to figure it out because there's going to be games in the Big 12 where we may not have timeouts or we can't get one called. You know what? You got to figure it out amongst yourselves.
Pretty good.